You know what you always do? You always underestimate yourself. Yeah, I'd be paying attention. All the things you say about yourself in your head, all the little self-doubts that you have that come out in many ways. You always doubting yourself, always underestimating yourself. And for what? How is it that you're still able to underestimate yourself when you survive all the battles that you've gone through already? How is it that you're able to underestimate yourself when you've lived through and persevered through all the challenges that life has thrown at your way thus far? How is it that you're able to underestimate yourself still when knowing that despite whatever challenges come your way, you are still going to succeed, you are still going to overcome, you are still going to surpass your limits, because that's all you've ever done. That's all you've ever done. And yet you still find yourself underestimating yourself all the time. I know someone needs to hear that. I know I need to hear that, because that's me too. That's me too. I'm always underestimating my own ability to do something, my own ability to achieve something, to achieve whatever it is that I set my mind to. I still find myself thinking, well, maybe I can't do this. Maybe I shouldn't do this. Maybe I'm just not capable of doing this. And yet, despite thinking that, I still end up doing whatever it is that I wanted to do, whatever it is that I felt like I needed to do. Isn't it funny? You can still underestimate yourself, yet despite knowing that you've survived all the battles that you've had to go through, despite overcoming all the challenges that you dealt with thus far, you can still find yourself in a feeling of self-doubt, still find yourself in a feeling of not belonging, of not knowing whether you are going to succeed or not, right? And I think in my case, I think it just stems from childhood, from not really having a belief in myself, not really knowing how to handle / cope with certain feelings. And so one of those ways that it manifested was in a form of not really believing in myself, aka always underestimating myself, right? And I think it's funny, being able to realize that, because not only do I think it's like a little bit silly that, I still feel that way sometimes, but I think it's just comedic that I'm able to realize that, yet I still fall into those patterns, right? You can realize something, yet you still find yourself falling back into old habits, into old patterns, right? One of those for me is just not believing in myself. But I have no reason not to, I have no reason to, good reason to feel that way, because I've overcame all my battles, because I've succeeded despite whatever life threw at me. And I'm still going to. Right? Because it's not like I'm done. It's not like I'm done. No. I'm only beginning. It's only the beginning. I think by underestimating yourself, you're truly, I think it comes from not knowing how capable you truly are. You underestimate yourself because you don't really know how capable you truly are. You don't know that the limits that you set on yourself can be changed. They can be surpassed. They could be surpassed all the time. One of my favorite sayings right now is surpass your limits. Whenever I feel myself feeling like in a flunk, or whenever I find myself doubting whether I can do a certain thing or not, I just tell myself, surpass your limits, right? And then I give it all that I can, right? And sometimes, you still fail. Sometimes you still fail. Sometimes you find yourself, still not succeeding despite doing all that you can. And that's okay, because failure is part of the process. Failure is part of the process. You can succeed 100 times, but on the one failure that you have is when you're going to learn the most. That's what I truly believe. You can't learn without failure. Going back to what I was saying though, not knowing how capable you truly are, I think that really applies to me, especially because for a while, I didn't know how capable I truly was. I didn't know what it was that was possible, what it was that I could do that was possible, right? Because I had such a low self-esteem, such a low belief in myself, right? I would always underestimate myself. It was like, oh, you know what, I can't do this. Or, oh, I want to do this, but I can't because it's not possible, right? Like just that frame of thinking, that like what I just said, I would tell myself that all the time because I didn't believe in myself. I didn't know what I was capable of due to just having such a low, always underestimating myself. But once I started breaking free from that, once I started truly being an optimist, once I started realizing that there is much more to life than I previously thought, I stopped underestimating myself to such a heavy degree. And I realized that all things are possible. All things are possible, despite your limitations, despite your circumstances, despite your environment, despite whatever it is that is affecting you currently. All things are possible. But you have to believe that. That has to come from within. People would tell me all the time, oh, quit saying that. Oh, you're much more, you can do this. Like, you're much more capable than you think you are. And while it would help temporarily, it wouldn't help me long term. Because I didn't have that within myself. I didn't have that belief within myself. People could tell me all the time, right? That they believed in me, or that they knew I could do it. But if it wasn't from within, it would never truly stick. And so I had to truly find that from within myself, to where I'm able to actually believe that, you know what, I can do this. I will surpass whatever is happening, right? And it took me a while to get there. I was like, shit, it took me like all my life. It took me all my life to actually get to this point where I'm at right now, because I didn't know. I didn't know it was possible, right? My environment shaped me to where, I was able to actually sit down with myself and truly become an optimist, in the sense of like, I can do whatever it is I want to do. Stop underestimating myself and just try to do things, see where it went. And you know what, if I failed, that's okay, because that was part of the process. That's another thing, right? Now that I'm talking about it, I was scared of failure. I was scared all the time of, oh, well, if I fail this now, then, that's it. That's raps. That's GG. That's no, go next, right? No, it's not going to happen anymore. When in reality, that's not the case. Think of a lot of successful inventors, successful athletes, successful fill in the blank, right? You don't know how, well, most of them you do probably, but for a lot of them, they had to fail a lot of times. They had to fail a lot of times to get to where they are. But it's because of that failure that they was like, you know what, I'm going to keep trying, I'm going to keep learning, and I'm going to surpass my limits. Do you think any athlete would be where they were if they were afraid of failure? If they were still afraid of failure? Because maybe they were at first. But eventually they was like, you know what, it's a part of the process. And then they kept going. 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 To get to where they are. To get to that one lucky break. So that's all it takes. Your life can change in an instant, but you have to keep going despite the failures. You have to keep going despite the failures. And the only way to do that is to stop underestimating yourself. You just have to keep going. Constantly, right? Consistent pursuance of what it is that you want, what it is that you desire. And that all comes from a belief within yourself. Something that you have to find yourself. Right? Because like I was saying earlier, people can tell you all the time they believe in you. But if you don't believe in yourself, then how much does that really matter? In the long term anyways. Because maybe in the short term, you hear that, it's like, you're right. You know what? I can do this, right? You get a spark. You get an ignition, right? And you keep going, and you're able to surpass your limits temporarily. But then when it comes crunch time and you're alone, right? Who's going to tell you that? You have to tell yourself that I believe in myself. That's what I got today. I hope someone needed to hear. I'm pretty sure someone needed to hear that. Stop underestimating yourself. There's much more to life than you can ever imagine. Just keep going, and everything will turn out the way that you want it to. Just keep going. If you're seeing this, I love you. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. Make sure to take care of yourself, because the only person who can take care of you is you. And always remember, quit underestimating yourself. You can do this. Have a good one.